Hello, my friends. I welcome you to another episode of Aditya Talks, and today we have Miss Catalina from Adyar, and she's going to share a lot of knowledge on Theosophy, and it's going to be a very interesting episode. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Hi Aditya, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy and glad to be here with you today.
Yes, ma'am. It's my honor. Welcome to the show once again. So, you are a citizen of the world. Please tell us about your story from the beginning, from your early childhood days, and how these experiences shaped you to become who you are today.
Well, actually, that feeling that you mentioned of that citizenship of the world has been like a feeling that has accompanied me since I am aware of myself. Since I am a very small child, and it has a meaning beyond the mere fact of traveling or visiting other places. That is what normally comes to one's mind when we think about citizenship of the world. Is mostly like a feeling of to feel part of a bigger group, to feel the belonging to Earth as a whole and the humanity as a family. I guess here in India you have some words to define that coming from the Maha Upanishad. My Sanskrit pronunciation is not very good, but I'll try to tell. Is Vasudev Kutumbakam, meaning the Earth is a family. So that's actually the feeling that I have had since I am a child. And I guess that was what inspired me not only to learn languages since my childhood, but also to have that desire to visit other countries. I remember when I was still a little child, I used to have a world map chart in my bedroom, just in front of my bed. And I used to play with Play-Doh. I used to just throw some pieces of Play-Doh, and I used to say, okay, that's some place that I will visit someday. And of course my map was full of these marks of Play-Doh. And in fact, after I could travel, actually I didn't travel so early in my life. The first time I traveled abroad of my country, but I traveled a lot inside my country during my childhood. But the first time that I traveled abroad, I had maybe 14 years old. But since then, all the travels that I have had the opportunity of making made me realize, it made me have shown me that there is a multiplicity in the midst of unity, that there is a connection of cultures, that there is a huge richness of each place, that there are thousands of possibilities to try to understand the other, that in fact is our sister or our brother, and also have allowed me to understand more deeply the human nature, the human feelings, the human concerns, the reasons for happiness and sorrow that are almost the same among all human beings. When you go and visit different places and meet different people, you realize how the things that make us similar are bigger than the things that separate us. And I guess that is one of the richness of visiting other places, and of that feeling of citizen of the world, that you feel that everywhere you are meeting your friends, your brothers, your sisters. So I guess that's actually what that citizenship of the world has meant to me since my childhood.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for sharing that. It was very interesting to hear that. So, you know, like many languages, namely like Spanish, French, Portuguese, and English and Dutch. How did you learn so many languages, and what was the purpose behind this?
I guess both the things are linked. Because I guess the desire and interest for learning new languages was in fact the desire to be able on one side to talk directly with all those people. When I imagine myself, when I picture myself traveling and meeting people, I also used to think, how will it be great to be able to talk directly to the common people? I mean, that person that is living the daily life, that is having all the experience of her or his own country. So I didn't imagine me having any kind of intermediary to keep that conversation. So that was one aspect, because I wanted to connect and try to understand the soul of each person in each place. And of course, I know there is a language that goes beyond all that. There is a language of love, of compassion, but undoubtedly, the fact of being able to communicate with people in their own language allows you to connect better. And of course, there has been a personal benefit, because for me it also brings the possibility to enjoy more deeply the different places I visit. You can go wherever you want. You are able to take the bus, to ask for directions, to discover the places, because I have always had that sense that there are some touristic travels in which they show you what they want. I mean, like what tourist companies want you to know, but there is something behind that, that is the real face, the real heart of a place. And that you can only experience when you get in touch with people, when you are free to go and come wherever you want to come and go, not when the tourist guide takes you and tells, okay, this is the monument, this is the museum, this is whatever. But if you are able to just go and be free to visit, be free to talk to people. So in that sense, I have had to experience a different view of some places that I have visited. But also learning languages has helped me in many ways, in the personal aspect, in the spiritual aspect, and even the professional sphere, because I have been able to expand my horizons, to realize that unity in the midst of diversity, that even if we talk different languages, as I was telling you before, we share same concerns, same feelings. Yes, to become also more tolerant of what is shown to us as different. For example, yeah, and also to being a translator. Oh, okay. And also on the professional side as well, this learning of languages has allowed me to work as a translator, as an interpreter in my country and other countries, which also brings another side, depending, because I have translated like very international important events or business event or cultural events. So you can approach through language to different aspects of one same country or whatever you are experiencing at that moment. And also I have had the opportunity to teach languages, which is another approach to the language. And I guess all those steps have been also the step to what my family is today. I live in an intercultural family. My husband is Indian. My daughter was born in Brazil, and she has been raised in Colombia and now in India. And of course, I am Colombian, but as we were discussing, with a citizenship feeling different. I mean, not only Colombian, but wider than that. And I was thinking how many languages we speak in this house. Not all of us speak the same languages, but if you make the compilation of the languages that we speak 7 languages here at home. So I guess that has made us also an open-minded and empathic family, and that is great. And about how I learned the languages, okay, some of them I learned during my childhood, some of them I learned when I was an adult, and some of them I am still to learn, some Indian languages that I found very, very beautiful and interesting.
Yes, ma'am. That is a really interesting ecosystem you have got there at your house. You have all the cultures from the world, and it is really interesting to know about that. So please tell us about your experience in the West, like USA, Brazil, and your activities involved.
Okay. I guess that experience is preceded also by the experience of learning languages. I forgot to tell you something that I wanted to add related to that, because culture and language are, in my opinion, always linked. So the experience that you have in a country is the experience that you have with the culture of the country. So as a language learner and as a language teacher, I can say that learning a language brings within the possibility of one or many cultures. In case of language like English, like Spanish, like French, among others that are spoken in different places of the world, in different continents. So if you learn, for instance, English, you will be learning about the English culture, Australian culture, Indian culture, American culture, some Caribbean island countries, and so on with other languages. So it's a lack of possibilities that are open in front of you. But to be more specific, I have also had the opportunity to learn on both ways: culture through language and language through culture. When I learned French and Dutch, for instance, I was very young. I was even a child when I learned French. I had no contact with the countries or people from those countries at all, especially with French, because it was my mother who taught me French when I was a little child. And then I went to the school, and I used to have Colombian teachers of French. And then later I had a teacher from Belgium that used to speak French and Dutch, and he was the one who introduced me to the Dutch. And I remember that through that learning process, I came to know about the rich and wonderful culture of French and Dutch speaking countries. But in case of Spanish, both happened at the same time, because Spanish is my mother tongue. So that was the way all of us learn our mother tongue. But also meeting people from other Spanish countries have enriched my knowledge of Spanish culture, because Spanish for me was Colombia. But later I realized the many possibilities of Spanish that you can find around the world. And for English and Portuguese, I had the challenge and great opportunity to learn them in the places. So I was living in US when I had to learn English, and I was living in Brazil when I had to learn Portuguese. I didn't know the languages before going to those places. So in those cases, I came first in touch with the culture and slowly approached to the language. And I must say, for English, I have had two very different experiences, one from US and one from India. And has been very, I used to say that when I came to India, I had to learn again English, because it was completely different. It was full of different words coming from Indian languages. It was full of different accents coming from the different places of people, of what people belong to. It was wonderful. It was really great. And I expect that to happen soon with Tamil and Hindi. I still expect to learn them one day, because I really love the way those languages make a different approach from the world. But also I have had an approach as a teacher. I have taught all the languages that I speak. I had the opportunity to teach them. So that has given to me knowledge of the language from a scholar approach, let's say. And also it is said that the best way to learn is to teach. And I can say that I have learned a lot by teaching languages. So regarding the experience of USA and Brazil, that are the two places that I lived before coming to India, not chronologically, I mean, it was a long time back, especially USA. I have two very different experiences, because when I went to USA, I was very, very young. So that was my youth years. So it was more about enjoying, traveling, knowing people, knowing places, take the life easy. It was another experience. I was living with my family, my uncle's family, And I only have the opportunity to work for a period with children. I used to teach them piano, and I used to teach also some salsa. I don't know if you have heard about salsa, that very popular Latino dance. And it was very fun, actually. It was a very fun opportunity for me. I enjoyed, I had no worries. So it's always like the adventure that I always wanted to have. Just traveling around the country and enjoying with people, etc. and learning the language. With Brazil, the experience was very different. I was already an adult, and I went there to work as a volunteer for an NGO and to pursue my first master that was in literature. So during Brazil, before coming to Brazil, I was a primary teacher, and then I suddenly changed completely my work environment to an NGO. And I had there the opportunity to work with the English and French speaking embassies from the African countries. And I got involved with diplomatic and cultural exchange with those embassies and their ambassadors. That was fascinating because that allowed me once more to experience that sense of oneness and to put aside a lot of misconceptions that people used to have about Africa and about African people and about African countries. When I was with African people in the embassies, they used to do gatherings, cultural gatherings, I could really experience the sense of unity among all those wonderful persons. And it was fascinating. It was an experience that still today I still feel my heart becoming warm when I remember those moments. It was great. And during that time, I also had the opportunity to work for TV. The ONG, it still exists. It has a TV called Theosophical. Theosophical is a word for a language. I don't know if you have heard about Esperanto. Esperanto was a language that was originated, I guess, in the 50s or 60s of the past century as an aim to create a universal language for communication. So they have a TV chain called Theosophical, and I had the opportunity to become the producer, the editor, and the TV host of a show that was dedicated to young people. And it was also very interesting because we used to focus on positive aspects like ecology, education, spirituality, good use of technology, etc. So that was a complete different experience. From first, I was a teacher, then I became like a diplomatic worker, and then a TV host. So it was also a very wide leg of different things. And at the same time, I was volunteering for the Theosophical Society in Brazil, helping as a lecturer, as a translator, and working with the children and youths organizing camps. And that allowed me to travel to about 60 different cities of the country, getting to live and confirm how Brazil is a land where the mixture of cultures and races have a powerful mechanism to transform the life of human beings. And finally, during my master's studies, I had the opportunity to learn about Brazilian literature and art from an approach more like a scholar approach. So it was both experiences were very nice and completely decisive for the rest of my life and for what I am today as a human being.
Yes, ma'am.